Recording in progress.
Good afternoon. It is June 28th, 2022, and it's now 4 p.m. I'd like to call the Transportation Ad Hoc Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll, please?
Malinowski.
Here.
Pugh.
Here.
Livingston. Here. Walker. Mackey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, the next item on our agenda is approval of minutes. Minutes from our May 24th, 2022 meeting are in your agenda packet. Do I have any edits to the minutes?
So move, Madam Chair.
Second, Madam Clerk.
Malinowski.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item is the adoption of the agenda. Director Maloney, is there any additions to the agenda, any changes?
No, ma'am, as written.
So move, Madam Chair. Second, ma'am.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Malinowski.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay. Next item is items for action. And we have 4A, the Broad River Road Widening Project right-of-way acquisition. Director Maloney?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Transportation Department requests approval to award right-of-way condemnation and acquisition to CECS Incorporated at a cost of $1,330,804.65 for the Broad River Road Widening Project. In conjunction with that, and as a separate motion, we request the aggressive schedule that's now 30 months to complete the design. Staff is also requesting council to approve and initiate eminent domain powers for all parcels where right-of-way acquisition is necessary for the widening of Broad River Road project. And to elaborate on that, this would be a preliminary approval. Of course, there's no actual parcel identification and dollar amounts at this time, but to commit to the acquisition process that would invoke a company to prepare for eminent domain. We seek the approval for that as a preliminary approval at this point. We'd be coming in a second time with a list of all parcels, the dollar amount per square foot, and the area of each with the total sale on all items, and would seek potential eminent domain on all those parcels. And that would be at least about 12 months from now.
Thank you, Director Maloney. Before I recognize Mr. Pugh, I would like to recognize Councilwoman Barron, who's attending our committee meeting today. Thank you. Mr. Pugh, you're recognized.
So Director Maloney, I understand exactly what you're saying when you said there's been no parcels of land identified. So basically what we'll be doing today is giving a blanket acquisition approval.
Yes, sir, for a process. And the actual dollar amounts and figures for those would come in when we have them after the appraisals. The plans have to be at 60% approved by SCDOT for acquisition. And at that point, we would be coming in with the entire list of parcels with the areas, dollar amounts per unit acre.
I'm sorry, I got one.
Yes, sir.
And so once you generate that list will come back before council, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir.
Mr. Malinowski, you recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking at page 10 of our agenda, Director Maloney, and it would be the second paragraph up above the attachments. And the third line, it says, staff believes that by filing an eminent domain action against all properties at one time, this will cut the right-of-way acquisition timeframe in half. So I'm reading this to mean that you're gonna have a list of all the properties that we need to get the right of way for and just file eminent domain for all of them. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. In about 12 months from now.
Okay, now here's where my question is, and I believe we may need some legal input on this. If someone files eminent domain against a person's property, does that not become a court record?
Yes, a condemnation has to be filed at court, so it's a court action.
So therefore, if an eminent domain is filed against my property and somebody is researching my name, they're going to say, well, look he's got some court action taking place right now. I'm not so sure we want to move forward with hiring that person or whatever.
Not really, because it's for the property. So it really it's not like a court action where it's against that person. It's really just to acquire the property.
It makes it look like possibly you're going against the system and not wanting to give your property for the good of the public. Seems to me, everybody that owns a property should have the option first to determine if they'd like to accept an offer for their right of way. And following that initial offer, then I could see going with eminent domain. But I just can't see putting everybody's name in the hopper saying, hey, you're all going to have listed in the court a court action against your property.
Well, I think before you can actually file the condemnation action, you have to speak to the people first. So you have to give them the opportunity to either give the property or acquire it with the fair market value price. So that's a requirement of the law.
Okay, so that would come first before filing eminent domain on all the properties.
It has to.
It has to.
Right.
Okay. I have other questions about the attachment A scope of services. Is that something I should just discuss with Director Maloney after the fact? Or do you want me to do it here, Madam Chair?
That is up to you. Do you feel as if you need those answered right now, or there things that you need to sit down with and in-depth answers?
I don't need them now. I just like them eventually.
Okay.
So that's fine. I'll glance through here and I'll get with Director Maloney. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, I do have one more thing. We put maps for everything else. This is a major widening project. It even states it here. It's one of the biggest ones of those left. Is there any chance that we could in the future put a map in here so the public can see exactly what we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And I'll ask this now, maybe others have questions. Page 16, attachment B. You've got 3 columns in there next to different work items, it looks like. But there's no heading over each column. I'm guessing what they are, but I think we need to put headings over those so anyone else may know. Attachment B.
Yes, sir.
Because also, well, let me bring this other one out. Also, it's commented there's a discrepancy on the numbers that are written in 2 different places here. Had to do with the actual right-of-way acquisitions services. It says on page 12 under 16.2.1, it mentions that perform right-of-way acquisition services in accordance with the following tasks for up to 130 parcels. But on page 13, under schedule, it says 150 properties. So I think we need to be consistent on we're either at 130 or we're at 150.
Director Maloney, you're recognized.
The assumption there was that there would be 20 parcels that would be secured by permission by the original offer, and 130 would be going to the higher levels. So I think that's just an assumption they made in here, and it's probably a fair one.
I was also wondering with this relocation assistance, what's the anticipated that we're going to have to give relocation assistance for?
Should the right-of-way needs create such damages to the parcel that it's not operable as the business it is. So that they made an assumption on that.
And so there's a lot of assumptions in this thing, I'm guessing.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions from committee members? Mr. Walker, thank you for joining us.
Do we have a motion for?
No, sir, we've received information and asked questions, but there is not a motion on the floor at this time.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you call the vote?
Malinowski,
Yes.
you,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Next item is item 4B, which is the Southeast Richland Neighborhood Improvement Sidewalk Phase 2. Director Maloney, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This project is part of the CERN projects, and it is to extend sidewalk from along Rabbit Run Road on one side of the road, 5 feet wide, from Garner's Park Road, formerly known as Rabbit Run Connector, up to Trotter Road, where there's a gas station up on the corner now. This project is estimated at $712,000 for construction, $160,000 for engineering and professional services, for a total estimate of $872,000. Currently, with phase 1 closed out, that we have a remaining fund in the CERN of $1.382 million, and request to use those funds to fund this sidewalk extension.
Thank you, Director Maloney. Any questions from committee members? Mr. Malinowski, you recognized.
Madam Chair, Director Maloney, was this project on a previous sidewalk list, or is it here only because it's part of the CERN?
This project wasn't on a sidewalk list of the penny.
Why does it get preference? Because it is on the CERN?
It is in the master plan area, and it is an area where there's been growing subdivisions on the road and a need for a sidewalk.
Okay, so this is part of a master plan.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and also under the recommended / requested action on page 18 of the agenda briefing, it says this phase extends prior work. Is there any reason that it just wasn't previously included and we got to come back to extend it?
Well, it wasn't in the original scope that we're identifying as phase 1. The sidewalk goes from, say, Lower Richland Boulevard over to Garner's Park Road, but then it ends, and the neighborhoods that are growing continue up to the north of that. So they didn't, in that time frame, identify that.
Okay, and length is not mentioned here, but I guess if you go to the cost estimate, it's 5,350 linear feet. Is that, so that would be correct there?
Yes, sir, just a little over a mile.
And, well, I don't know, I guess that's cost per foot would be $25 then.
Yes, sir.
Come within any, what do we call it? The folks that do
The
within is
OETs that provide those estimates.
well, we always have say the engineer's estimate was such and such, or this is so much more or less than the engineer's estimate. So where does this lie, this figure? We don't have that here.
Right. We don't have a new estimate, but we have the price per square foot, and we're seeing bid prices of concrete as we're getting bids in now. So it's not one of the problem areas. One of the problem areas we're seeing are things that are really intensive on trucking, excavation and replacement of base course has gotten to be as expensive as putting in asphalt right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Move, Madam Chair.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk, you call the vote, please, for the roll.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on our agenda is 5, adjournment.
Move, Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Madam Clerk?
Malinowski, Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you.
All right.